handful of trucks, so if there's a couple more that
This
are
Dodge
noteworthy.
is the 12th.
Okay, so then this would be, well...
This was like the 10th, the 9th or the 10th.
Okay, yeah, because that's right, because you had it bought, but you didn't actually
Yeah.
take possession of it until
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, it's sad when you got so many trucks you can't keep track of what you have. So I met an old timer that was into old pickups, and he's a body man and stuff. And he said, yeah, get rid of everything but your favorite 3. So I started to rattle each one off one by one and explained why each one was my favorite. I can't get rid of any of them. So, especially none of the Macks.
I grew up around Macks because my dad always talked about him. He loved him. He drove, well, that deputy dog before I was born. And he used to like that thing where you just don't understand. I would always ask him, like, it only had a 6-speed transmission, Dad. It had to be a pilot. Like, you just don't understand what a Maxidine engine was.
Yeah.
You know? And then I always thought the Kenworths were the coolest, like all the ones that Randy's got and stuff. But the more I get into it, man, people will walk over fire to drive those things.
Well, you know, it's funny, and there's guys that will do nothing but throw rocks at a Mack all day long. So, you know, when I started wrenching, I fell in love with the Macks because they were easy to work on, and you know, you go to the Mack dealer to get everything here. You know, so if you had a Peterbilt or a Kenworth or a Freightliner...
Well, that's true, because
you
it
can
had
wind
a
up...
Caterpillar motor and an Eaton transmission and a Hendrickson suspension, whereas you could...
So you would hope that the dealer would have everything, because the dealers usually were Caterpillar and Cummins and Detroit dealers and Clark transmission dealers and Eaton transmission dealers and whatnot, but that wasn't always the case. And...
was that the saying, single stack Mack from front to back?
Yeah.
Meaning the engine, the transmission, the rear ends, everything was made by Mack.
Yeah. And, you know, they were easy to work on. And then when I started driving, I you know, especially the R models, they were very easy to maneuver in tight alleys. I had to bump a lot of alley docks.
Yeah, because you did a lot of work in the city of Chicago when you were driving, right?
Yeah. And,
or at least picking up and dropping off.
And so, you know, when you're in and out of alleys with, you know, there was a particular dock on State Street. I had to go in the alley between State and Wabash under the L with a 40-foot tandem axle trailer and my tandem axle R model. I had a 1970 R model, manual steering. And I used to have to bump that dock. I used to have to get there at 4 in the morning and bump the dock and drop the trailer.
When you say bump the dock, you mean back it in all the way?
Back it into the dock, and then I would drop the trailer, and then I would have to come back. They would spend the day unloading it, and then I would have to come back after 6 o'clock at night.
So you bobtail back.
Yeah.
Do something else.
I couldn't get in or out while cars were parked there.
Oh, okay, because they'd be parked on the side of the street and you couldn't make the turn.
Right. So on the side street, and I believe it was 17th Street, 16th Street or 17th Street. It was the first east-west street just south of the viaduct on State Street there. And so I'd have to get there because I took the load there. It was like 10 in the morning, and the guy says, yeah, come back tomorrow before the cars start to park. So I would get there 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'd get it backed up to the dock, open the doors, and back it up to the dock. And then I'd come back at 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon to get the empty. So, you know, the R models were very easy to maneuver in tight spots, and they were very durable trucks. Now, a lot of guys will argue that that's just, everybody's got their own taste. You know, they're rough riding. A lot of guys hated them because they were rough riding, but everybody's got their own taste.
I've noticed that driving that R model that I got, I never put a trailer on it, and I put some of those videos I post up, the guys are like, oh wow, you look like a real truck driver, which I'm not. But to me, it feels like I'm driving a big pickup truck. It just...
Yeah. Yeah, they're not the roomiest cabs. Some guys like the great big giant wide cabs. They're not roomy, but you get a lot of visibility because the cab is so close. You can kind of look out and see where you're at on the right side there. You know, this thing here, this B model, behind the driver's seat, I could reach over and roll down the passenger window. So that's even tighter than an R model. That's not a roomy cab at all, but Everybody's got their thing. You know, do you want a roomy cab? Do you want a durable truck? You know, and then there's guys that'll argue that, oh, Macks aren't that durable, but I'm a Mack nut. I love old trucks. I've got a few trucks other than Macks, but I'm just a Mack nut. You know, before Volvo bought them in 2000, in my opinion, you couldn't beat them.
A lot of people would say that. I mean, the more I've learned since I've really gotten into this stuff, I mean, I grew up around trucks like we were talking earlier, but that the people just come out of the woodwork. I've had at least 5 people message me on Facebook that want to buy my R model to put it back to work. You know? And that's like we were talking, the guy I bought it from kind of thought it was like one tire in the grave when I bought it. And not a year later, I took my wife's little sister out to ice cream in it, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, well,
I don't think you could say that about the stuff that's rolling off the line today in 37 years.
No, absolutely not. In 37 years, this 1970 wrecker is going to be towing them electronic trucks to the junkyard.